Every time seeing the wild horse roaming in the forest along with a pack of wolves, locals were scratching their heads and wondered what was going on. It seemed like an odd situation to them, and so one of the locals decided to get to the bottom of it. He began his investigation to discover the truth, and what he found was shocking. It was totally unexpected and far more twisted than what he had originally assumed. After struggling whole day, Hunter Dylan got his eyes closer look at the horse in the forest surrounded by wolves. After getting closer, Dylan was suddenly aware of what had kept the wolves from attacking the horse. He couldn't believe his own eyes and felt like he needed to tell this to the world. But what was the actual situation that Dylan had encountered? And why curiosity had gotten the better of him, and he decided to get closer for a better look at the strange phenomena. To solve the mystery, locals started walking up the mountain, and as they came closer, they finally figured out what was going on. It was an unexpected surprise for them as well. A pack of wolves had surrounded the horse. Wolves started growling and showing teeth as soon as they saw humans coming. The fear of death had taken over the locals, and they got scared that if they tried to rescue the horse, wolves would attack and kill them. So they decided to back off and quickly ran away from the forest. But the actual story was much different than what they had assumed. Without any sign of aggression, the wolves went back to the horse and formed a circle around it. They seemed like protecting their own from danger instead of attacking it. Even after the locals had left, wolves kept guarding the horse and refused to move away. But the reason behind their actions still remains a mystery. The food sources are very limited for wolves in the Alaskan winter. In snow-filled grounds, they'd have to struggle hard to survive and find food. Dylan was the first one to come up with an explanation for this strange behavior. He had a theory that the wolves may have recently ate a big kill and were still full. Therefore, they might have decided not to kill the horse and instead keep it alive for times when food is scarce. Everybody thought that seeing this wild horse again was impossible, but they were wrong. Everybody took it as a sign of hope and discussed the possibility of finding out who owned this horse. In order to find the owner of the horse, the villagers started asking around. After roaming around in the village for a while, they stumbled upon an old woman who seemed to recognize the description of the horse. She carefully examined the details of the horse and confirmed that a few days back she had seen the same horse around. Till now, 3 locals were interested in the story of the horse, and they decided to search for the pack again the following day. One thing is clear, that wolves were not meant to harm the horse. But what was their actual intention? After a while, the wolves started to move away from the horse, and this gave the locals a chance to capture pictures of the animals. The images that were taken of the horse and wolves were quickly posted on social media and got the attention of people from all over the world. Even Dylan was not able to understand the complexity of the situation, but he still wanted to find out what might have been happening in Alaskan mountains. After extensive research, Dylan decided to visit the village and see if he could get some more answers. He quickly gathered his hunting gear and started the 4-hour-long journey towards the village. In morning, Dylan started his hunt and tracked the horse. After some time, he heard loud howls of the wolves, which were coming from somewhere near. Dylan was all in to make this hunt successful, so he followed the sound of the howl and started to run in the direction of the forest. Even if it meant risking scaring away his target, Dylan still wanted to find out what was really going on in Alaska mountains. After a short while, Dylan was surprised to find himself with the large creature he had seen in the tree line. It was similar to the horse he had seen on social media. It had distinct fur. He took precautionary measures and started to observe the animal from distance. He was unaware if the animal had seen him or not. He got more closer and was able to determine that there were around 4 wolves surrounding the horse. It seemed like the wolves had accepted this horse as part of their pack, and even though it was strange, Dylan still admired the sight. Dylan doesn't want to harm wolves, so he searched for a better vantage point from where he could take his shot and not risk harming any of the wolves. Also, he wanted to make sure that the shot was taken from a safe distance so that it would be more accurate and lethal. After some time, Dylan looked around and saw a tree that is perfectly made for climbing and provides a safe vantage point. He quickly climbed up the tree to get higher than the wolves and horse, which were still nearby. The branches of the tree were not strong enough to withstand the weight of Dylan's rifle and him, so he started to fall out of the tree. The noise from breaking branches alerted the wolves to Dylan's presence. He was not sure if they had spotted him or not, but he could hear them growling and coming closer. And then he was in direct view of the wolves, who were looking at him in an aggressive manner and were ready to attack. The horse was looking at Dylan in a way that he had never seen before. It seemed like the horse trusted him. After a while of staring at each other, the horse made a step closer to Dylan and started sniffing him gently. After a few moments, Dylan saw that the horse was slowly walking away. Also, the pack of wolves made a few more steps back as the horse was leaving and started to follow the horse away from Dylan. The hunter was not sure what had just happened, but he knew one thing. This experience would stay with him forever. Dylan stood up and was greeted by the peaceful silence of the woods. He was alone again, and he was still trying to process what had just happened. Even after the horse and wolves had left, Dylan could feel its presence in his heart. But the interest of the horse had saved him, and Dylan was grateful for that. Dylan was still wondering if the pack of wolves had a leader, and it seemed like they did. The horse seemed to be their leader, and Dylan felt that he could relate to that animal. It might have been a coincidence or destiny, but it felt like the horse was trying to show him something important. Dylan was determined to follow the horse and learn more about it. He got back to the ground, and soon he was following the horse's footprints. He followed it for miles and maintaining a safe distance so he would not disturb them. Eventually, the animals stopped in front of a big tree, and Dylan was able to get a closer look at them. But what he saw was bizarre. In his whole career as a hunter, he had never seen something like that. The behavior of the horse was extraordinary. He started wondering if it was all just a dream, but he could feel that something magical had just happened. The answers to all the questions that had been bothering Dylan for so long were there, in front of him. Something else caught Dylan's eye. The horse was standing on his hind legs in front of the tree as if he was protecting something. And Dylan could not believe what he was seeing. The horse had obviously taken something out of the tree. But what? Suddenly, Dylan spotted something in the tree. It was a frozen wild boar that had been caught in an old hunting trap. In past, someone had set a trap in the tree, and it had caught a wild boar. It must have been there for months, but nobody knew about it until the horse found it. Dylan had set up similar traps in the past, and he knew exactly how hard it was to catch one of these animals. He thought that there must be many of such traps around the woods and settlements, which had been set up by the hunters to get their food supply. This is an old tradition, and the horse had found one of those traps. The wolves' power of smell was surely greater than that of the horse, and they must have sniffed out the animals in other trees as well. However, it seemed like the wolves were leading the horse to this particular tree, as if they wanted him to find something very important. After watching the strong bond between the wolves and the horse, Dylan was not sure what he should do. He had come to hunt, but now he was thinking about the welfare of these animals. He realized that he needed to make an important decision that would affect the lives of many innocent creatures, a decision he never thought he would have to take. As time passed, Dylan realized that he needed to let these animals go and protect their unique bond. He watched them from afar and slowly started walking back home. He knew that these animals would keep their secrets, but he was sure that they had taught him the power of friendship and loyalty. He chose to keep what he saw to himself, as he was afraid that telling someone might result in them being separated.